Hello, all you soul inspired beings, all you lovely people out there. Thank you for coming across my video and choosing to watch it. I hope it supports you in the best way possible today. Today, we come to day 25 of 55 Days of Christ Consciousness. And some of you may be wondering, why 55 days? It's simple. There's 55 cards in the deck. The number 5 connects us to 5-dimensional frequencies and above that we're all evolving into this beautiful heart opening that all of us are expanding into. And that shows up very uniquely in each of our lives, as does your ascension, which is an organic process. Your body physically changes, emotionally, mentally, physically. You're living evolution right now. We're living it, we're seeing it, and it could be a bit disruptive as well, depending how far along you are on it. So bringing us back to 55 Days of Christ Consciousness, recognizing all these energies live within you. If you have any triggers or contractions or thoughts or judgments about the word Christ or God, just recognize their energetic qualities. If universe is better for you, use that. Energy is better, use that. Let's not get caught up in semantics where we lose the message that can support you in a higher way. So, and recognize that Jesus was a person just like you living on this planet, and he had a sole purpose that he lived out, as you do as well. Laid the blueprint for many of us. And some of us feel called to go on a self-mastery path of light, a Christ consciousness path of light. And you will know in your own heart the direction that you go. But I believe all light, all paths lead us home to ourselves and the light within us and the interrelationship that we all carry into life. Even when we experience things are not so pleasant or darker energy, that's still just perpetuating duality consciousness. As you begin your own growth and you recognize, wow, that experience that was kind of dark and not so pleasant supported me coming into my oneness and unity consciousness, and recognizing it's the same. It's a different side of the same coin. So as we move, it propels you into your light and into your divinity, in your unity within your shadow self, bringing light to yourself and bring unity of your masculine and feminine energies and so much more. I'm kind of simplifying it here, but it can get complicated. But let's keep it as simple as possible. And kind of stay in your own lane, so to speak. The healing process, the purification process of the body, mind, spirit, emotions can be disruptive, as I've said before, and kind of knock you off your foundation so you can rebuild a new foundation and be more solid as you're connecting to your higher consciousness and way of being. And it's important to recognize every single person in their own way is going through this process. You're no different. And be mindful when you find yourself getting drawn into someone else's experience and growth, and recognize you don't have the answers for them. You go inward, seek your own guidance. And just because you've experienced it one way does not mean someone else has to experience it the same way you did. And just keep your conversations open and ask permission. There's something about asking permission. If like, hey, would you like some guidance here? I have a thought I'd like to share of my own experience, not necessarily theirs. And there's a difference. And if they kindly say, no, thank you, or they're abruptly say, no, I don't respect that, because that's empowering them to honor what they know and need for themselves at that time, and allow people to come to you, so to speak. So that being said, let's see what card Jesus has for us today two popped out, but we'll pick the top one of discernment, truth, and clarity. So some of what I was talking about has a lot to do with discernment. Let's take that in. And there was a supportive card. We'll just take a glance at it, of purity, return to innocence. And we'll go ahead and take a look at that. We've had this happen one other time before where two cards got pulled. So we may not do exactly 55 days per se because of that, but we'll see how things play out. The dominant card today, or primary focus, is discernment. And then we have this supportive energy of purity. Okay, so let's first take in the discernment card. And we see this young woman with a blindfold of some kind over one eye, and then one eye is open and clear. We see, look at the colors as well. We see that golden light illumination color, wisdom, higher wisdom on one side of the head. And then we also see the violet flame color energy, also wisdom, higher chakra energy that comes in out through around this other side and around her. It's all very fluid. Hey, Gus. It's my dog, Gus. So as those of you know and that follow me a little bit, you'll hear Gus from time to time. Those of you that are new, that's Gus. You can't see him. He's off camera right now, but he's just big love, big gray sheepadoodle named Gus. So back to the card, and look at all these the flames. We're working with threefold flame here. Your divine spark, your Christ consciousness, also called the sacred heart. Many images are depicted with that. Your fire, it's a heart with flames on it. We have the illumination flame. We even see like this fuchsia. And remembering that violet is a combination of the masculine and feminine energies of love, which is depicted as pink, and the indigo blue masculine energy of divine will. And that represents many different things. You bring those together, it's an alchemy tool of the violet flame. And then we see this beautiful feather here, which is white and purple. And white and purple. And I want you just to take some time to take in this image and its message of truth and clarity. And before I start speaking, take a moment or maybe pause the video. What is truth and clarity and discernment? What does discernment have to do with truth and clarity? And how are you in relationship to using your own discernment from a higher place? Not just in a place of your own personal gain or anything, but a higher perspective. It requires you to go into your I am presence, or call in your I am presence, and to open your heart. Know when to speak and when to stay silent and observant. Higher wisdom. And even take notice of the light blue blindfold, I'll say, or scarf or fabric. Right? It's almost transparent too. Like even though it covers her eye, you can still see through the fabric. You can still see the bridge of her nose through it. So what might that mean to you? As I sit here and take in this image, it's also this piece of the ability, when we use discernment, we also allow the truth to rise to the surface. When we kind of put a pause on the reaction versus a response, and even slow down before we respond to something, it allows more. It's a very gestalt way of being, when you can recognize what's occurring in your own body, what emotions are drawn up for you while you're witnessing something, or maybe even experiencing something that's directed or you're a part of. And this skill of discernment happens faster and faster. The more you practice it, the more you're in your own awareness, because then you can respond from a place of purity, a place of peace, a place of innocence, a return to innocence, as this card, the supporting energy. says, right? And brings forth with discernment. Discernment, you allow space. A beautiful way to allow space is through the breath. Because remember that we're talking about self-mastery of your physical body, your emotional body, mental body, and spiritual body. Okay, so as we started this, I was reminding you that you don't know what's best for someone else. They do. They have to discover it. If they ask you for guidance, you're coming in a very different way. And this is where I feel many people have gone into life coaching or coaching of some kind, because it teaches you those skills of discernment, discerning energy, discerning what the person is speaking, because you have to be discerning, you have to listen. You have to listen with neutral ears, a neutral heart. Not planning on, oh, but I'm going to say this, and that. That's not true listening. You will interfere with your discernment when you start already objecting or placing your own opinion over what someone else is saying before you even really digest and understand what they're trying to depict to you and share within themselves. Because sometimes, as coaches know, if some of you out there are coaches of some kind, or you work with people, customer service, it's all the same thing. You have to listen and discern and figure out what is that person really, they're wanting something, but what is it, what they really need? I saw this all the time in my former experience and former careers, and still in this one. Then I know which questions to ask. The more I'm in mastery of something, then I know what questions to ask that give space for that person to offer more information and get clarity. Clarity and truth comes out when we give space and have questions versus answers for someone else. So now that's one direction, right? If I'm listening and on the other end and kind of guiding someone and drawing out information because I'm not quite clear, and I don't want to make assumptions. So I'm going to ask questions to bring clarity, and that gives us also direction, right? From a pure place, leaving my intentions at the door and being mindful of what intention do I have here? So what intentions do you have? You have to pay attention to that. Return to the innocence. Return to the innocence versus your own agenda. Okay. Sometimes we have to sit and watch situations and discern the energies going on, recognize them in ourselves and recognize them in the room and through other people. And this happens in the micro, your own reality, and also in the macro, right? Those of you that have children, I'm sure you are practicing discernment all the time, because you may want A, B, C, and D done, but your child is maybe not giving forth information, or something's not quite right. And you have to wait instead of trying to pry something out of them by over asking. You have to give them space till they're comfortable inside themselves to share more information, to bring clarity to what's happening. I saw this all the time when I was briefly a step parent. And then more information came out. But then another piece of the puzzle. Then it explained why they were kind of afraid or worried that they were going to be in trouble for something. Because a little accident had happened. No harm done, but sometimes we make choices and that something breaks or and then they're like, oh my gosh, I knew I shouldn't have done something. I did it anyway, right? And you have also done that. So you're not separate from that child. So allow your own self to return to innocence, as that flipped through my card, through my hands. And let the golden light, let the wisdom, when you return to the innocence, the wisdom is, you're surrounded by wisdom. You're totally protected in your discernment, because to be discerning is also to bring forth wisdom. To know when to speak and when not to is a wise thing to learn how to do. It's wisdom can come in. And then how you choose to respond or to react or to even do nothing, that too is a response. Sometimes we just have information. So when you're in your practicing and mastering discernment, you're allowing a lot of wisdom to come in, the ability to alchemize a situation, transform it, transfigure it, violet flame, freedom, so much more. It's an alchemy tool. Spirit can come in. That white light can come in. You're not blind to anything. And there's also this element, or there's aspects that you don't know. So you allow wisdom to come through and give it space. So let's see what the deck has to share with us with discernment, card number 43. You may be faced with an issue where discernment is key, and you need to ascertain whether something is true, applicable, or aligned to your beliefs. I'm going to pause here for a second. And this is also a reminder, because we are in this age of information and technology and AI and things of that nature. We all have the technology and access to it to create with. So it's up to you and your responsibility to fact check information, to take extra time and care in a world that we're surrounded by 15-second sound bites left and right without getting the full picture. So I encourage you, if you're interested in a story, or a story catches your eye, or something has this buzz and feed over and over, and everyone's kind of like focusing their energy on that, discernment, dig it a little deeper, give it space before you have a comment on it. Allow the truth within yourself to rise to the surface. There's something within you going ding, 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 like something doesn't feel right. You're not quite sure what it is yet. That's okay. Use your discernment. Maybe you don't go down that path right now, and you continue just to observe. Continue to observe so the truth and clarity of what's in front of you comes out. Do a little more checking and research on your own. So I really want to encourage you to do that. And I fall, I say, victim of that too, where it's like I see something, I'm like, huh, and I could feel the judgments coming, and then I have to pause and go, wait, I really don't know the full story here. All these people are commenting on something. When I'll ask questions, well, then that's when I ask deeper questions to friends or people I'm talking to, like, well, what's it? When did it happen? What were the circumstances? What do we know? Oftentimes they don't know anything except the third party story. And it's not a judgment. It's just kind of like, oh, so we don't really know much. So it's just a lot of speculation. When any of us operate that way, it can be extremely disruptive. I find, my personal opinion, it's a waste of your energy, and it lacks purity, and it moves you away from your innocence. Right? Because some people will also use that way of being to stir the pot. It turns into gossip and then goes, well, I don't do anything, and choose to choose not to have any responsibility for anything. All of us are capable of doing that and have on some level or another. You're evolving, you're coming into your self-mastery, you're learning how to be more discerning of yourself and others. So I encourage you to continue that practice, because we all will kind of fall off and come back onto the path. That's normal. Just remember how to get back to your heart and forgive yourself as you move forward in others. And truly go, oh yes, this is reminding me how to be this way, how to be living Christ consciousness, as we saw in the Holy Spirit card. Okay. It's not condoning behavior, but it's not condemning you either in others. So we'll begin again with the deck, with what the message of the card is. You may be faced with an issue where discernment is key, and you need to ascertain whether something is true, applicable, or aligned to your beliefs. It may be something you have read, heard, or seen, but be careful that someone else's opinions are not distorting your own intuition and wisdom. Our bodies, hunches, and gut feelings are wonderful barometers as to whether something or someone is good for us or not. However, often we can be swayed by what others are doing rather than following our own instincts. Okay. This is very much self-mastery. Follow your own instincts and heart and guidance. You may also have a dilemma that leaves you confused or uncertain, not yet having all information you seek. So ask for a sign or what needs to be revealed, to be shown to you. Okay, and this is where you feeling it, you're getting your gut instinct, your intuitive center, solar plexus. Something doesn't feel right, your heart, you're feeling some emotions, you're calling in your higher guidance, your I am presence. You're using both. The heart is the bridge to that, because that's the way I see it. You're bridging your intuitive gut instinct with your I am presence, your higher self, your Christ consciousness energy, and moving forward from that place through the heart. Because you're learning how your body works, the vehicle of the body and its energy. You're discerning energy and you're decoding its information. And then you're asking for higher perspective information and how to navigate it. Show me. You're asking spirit to show me. What else do I need to know here? Reveal it to me. I'm asking for guidance. Sometimes you must face what is uncomfortable. This can be about, also within yourself. Okay. Self-mastery is very much about taking a look at yourself. All right. And to be comfortable in the uncomfortableness of like, oh, yeah, I did operate that way. I do that. What can I do to not do that and change it? Or, right. So I can resolve something within me, heal it, optimize it. Sometimes we must face what is uncomfortable. This can be about our own behavior, weaknesses, or wounding. We may not want to face our grief or destructive habits for fear it may consume us. We may be unable to make difficult decisions, even if doing so will ultimately free or help us in the long run. We may also be blinded to someone else's faults, cruelty, or insensitivity, as well as being afraid of saying what needs to be expressed or disengaging from what we know is wrong. We can ignore moral and ethical aspects that require attention, focus, time, and action. We can turn a blind eye to collective problems such as our material consumption and the planet's needs because we feel we cannot make little differences. Yet, if everyone turns away, nothing will change. New Earth is born via new paradigms and us caring enough to weed and take care of our own backyard, figuratively and literally. When we take off the blindfold to see what truly requires attention, we may first be overwhelmed, but our eyes soon adjust to new frequencies and ways of being. We learn through new practices and ways of being, and we discover we always are supported. This card can also signify uncertainty in showing why you really are, for fear of being judged or ridiculed. Stand strong and be seen, and know you are held as you become more of who you were born to be. In doing so, you help others find their courage and strength. We should remember that walking in Christ consciousness is not about turning our gaze away from what is problematic. Jesus mixed with people whom others rejected, refusing to abide by unjust laws and norms that deemed them outcasts. This conversation with a woman at the well shows him unconcerned that she was drawing water alone, having been shunned for having 5 marriages. Nor was, lost my place. Okay, nor was he concerned about interacting with the Samaritan, being himself a Jew. He saw who she truly was, since he had no blindfold on. In this and many other incidences in the gospel, he showed the importance of bearing witness to a person's potential goodness and light and beauty. We do that best when we can look past transgressions, mistakes, and someone's humanness and see their soul via their eyes. I'm going to pause right there. There's one more paragraph because I've had recent experience with that in my own family. And it's not surprising, but so often this same conversation is had after decades of knowing this one particular family member many do not like, but we can't change their personality. We can't change how they choose to show, right? And I reminded them, I'm like, yeah, he is all those things. And but what you don't are forgetting to realize is that there's a lot of pain there. And do you even know much about his upbringing? I'm not condoning his behavior. Right? This is a person that is so starved for love that he's going to attract all attention, even if it's negative and causing disruption. Because he didn't receive it from others growing up. Right. And I said, did you watch 90210? And they said, yeah. Do you remember that character Dylan who lived in hotels and no parents around, but he had a lot of money? And they're like, yeah. Well, essentially that was his life. That was the way to solve the problem. Was here, we'll just give him money, his own place to live, and let this teenager run rampant. And it's not a judgment, it's just what occurred in this person's life. Because nobody there in judgment has taken time to really get to know him. On the same token, has he allowed others to really truly know him beyond his rough exterior and off-putting behavior? Yet I watch families still hold ill will and harbor discord toward him, which means they're harboring discord in themselves. And it's not a judgment. I have to sit here in my own self and use discernment. How can I navigate this conversation too and bring awareness to other things? Be Christ consciousness in action. While I too have my human experiences, and all I just know, I have conversation and I send this man love. I send myself love and my siblings love who still struggle to show him love. Because that's when we need it the most, is to respect others when they don't know how to respect themselves, and still respect yourself. And sometimes that is moving away, right? Moving out of the situation and no longer putting yourself subject to certain things. So you can see it's simple and complicated at the same time. And you will learn how to become more and more discerning and put that into practice. And, but the point being, where's the forgiveness and transgressions? Where's the ability to see beyond the behavior and what that may be representing? Some people, they're there, others aren't quite there yet. And I've listened time and time again where it's met with excuses of why they feel that way. And that's fine. But how is this conversation, even after a decade, still relevant? How is it still relevant? And I found it interesting because I'm like, I wasn't even privy to what they're talking about. And I was at the same family event. And I'm like, oh yeah, because I unplugged from that a long time ago. So I don't get rubbed the same way. Right? I've already looked at it. I've already looked at the situation, him and myself, that particular other family member, and resolved it within me. And I don't hold himself against him. I don't hold his behavior against him anymore. And yes, and it's all those things. You have to be able to encompass all those with love, forgiveness, compassion, and to see beyond the transgressions. And no longer be in the judgment of that person and their choices, because we truly don't know their life. We truly don't know the ins and outs of their life and what pain they might be feeling, what suffering, and what things go unhealed. And same with your own life. Can you really say that everyone you know knows the ins and outs of your daily life, how you feel, what you've gone through? I know not all mine do. I can count on one hand, maybe two people in my life, which I feel grateful for, that know all the ins and outs and struggles I've gone to in the depth of what that was and those experiences. Right? So we truly don't know what's going on in another human being and what has brought them to a certain behavior. So you have to bring it back to yourself as well. That helps with compassion and being humble and recognizing while you were on a path of ascension, someone else is on it. They just not be aware of it yet, where their soul's woken up enough to make choices and change their life. So there's can be stuck in a loop or lower vibrational states that need to be healed. So remember that. Okay. You may also have the dilemma that leaves you confused or uncertain, not yet having all the information you seek. So ask for a sign or for what needs to be revealed to be shown to you. Signs can be anything such as seeing random feather as depicted here, or anything that you give significance to, such as a number sequence, 444, 222, and so on. All of which imply a code or meaning that you may link to it. So pay attention to the outer messages, because spirit speaks in different ways. Through the animal kingdom, through maybe an interaction with someone, you overhear something. Through numbers, the angelic realm loves to communicate through numbers. So I hope this was supportive to you as you come into a more discerning and truth and clarity coming into your life and situations with the energy of purity, as you also return to innocence, and so do others around you. So that energy is very much in here and bringing in that wisdom of your higher self. Like and share this video. I'm Gina, Soul Inspired Reflections, and until next time, much love to all of you.